If you're over 50 and notice your hips tightening, your knees cracking, or that subtle stiffness every time you stand up, you might think it's just aging. That's what I thought too, until something surprising showed me that my body wasn't old. It was just forgotten. Forgotten how to move the way it was designed to. The day I tried sitting in a deep resting squat, I realized how far I'd drifted from natural human movement. I couldn't even hold the position for 15 seconds before my heels lifted, my knees wobbled, and my lower back screamed. It wasn't pain, exactly. It was my body's way of saying, "You stopped using me properly." We spend decades sitting in chairs, driving, lounging on couches, all at 90 degrees, and we call that comfort. But comfort slowly robs us of our mobility, our strength, and even our independence. The resting squat, something our ancestors did effortlessly to cook, rest, or chat, had completely vanished from modern life. Somewhere along the line, we traded movement for convenience, and now our bodies are paying the price. Here's what I discovered when I decided to bring it back. For the next 30 days, I made a deal with myself: 5 minutes of deep resting squats every day, no excuses. I didn't change my workouts. I didn't buy any fancy gear, just me, the floor, and a timer. I wanted to see if this simple primal movement could really make a difference. Spoiler, it changed far more than I expected. The first few days were humbling. My ankles felt like rusty hinges. My knees made sounds I didn't know were possible. And my hips, they protested every second. I had to use the edge of a table to keep from falling backward. 5 minutes felt like 5 hours. But something in me knew this discomfort wasn't danger. It was a wake-up call. So I broke it down. 1 minute at a time, multiple times a day. Little by little, my body started to remember. By the end of the first week, something subtle shifted. Getting up from a chair didn't feel like a chore. My morning stiffness faded faster. The dull ache behind my knees that used to greet me every morning started disappearing. That's when I realized this wasn't a stretch. This was restoration. The deep squat wasn't about exercise. It was about returning to the range of motion my body was built for. Modern life trains us out of being human. We bend less, twist less, reach less. The resting squat is like hitting reset on your operating system. It reintroduces natural movement in a way that feels oddly familiar once you get past the initial struggle. Each day I practiced, I could feel more than my joints responding. My balance improved, my breathing deepened, even my digestion felt smoother. It was as if the entire lower half of my body was waking up after years of quiet neglect. The science behind it is fascinating. Researchers now know that squatting deeply isn't just about flexibility. It's about circulation, stability, and longevity. In cultures where people still squat daily, to eat, to rest, even to talk, chronic knee and back pain are remarkably lower. These people don't work out. They just move naturally, and that's when it hit me. Fitness doesn't start with lifting weights. It starts with reclaiming what we've lost through sitting. One afternoon, I tried something different. I held the squat position while folding laundry. It wasn't graceful, but it worked. Then while watching TV, I'd sink down into the posture for a minute or two. The more I integrated it into everyday moments, the easier it became. My body didn't just adapt, it started craving it. The position that once felt impossible became something my joints looked forward to, like a sigh of relief after years of compression. What surprised me most wasn't just the physical improvement. It was how connected I started to feel. My movements during the day became smoother, more grounded. Even walking felt different, as if my legs and core were finally on speaking terms again. There was a kind of effortless stability I hadn't felt in years. And the best part, it didn't require effort in the traditional sense. It required awareness, a willingness to reclaim something ancient and essential. By the end of week 2, my 5-minute sessions no longer felt like a challenge. They felt like meditation. My breathing slowed, my thoughts cleared, and I began to notice how tense my body used to be all the time. Sitting, driving, standing in line. That tension started dissolving. The resting squat had become more than movement. It was a teacher. It reminded me that aging gracefully isn't about adding more. It's about returning to what's natural. By the start of the third week, something remarkable happened. I woke up one morning and didn't have to stretch before getting out of bed. My joints felt lighter, my steps more confident. It wasn't that I had suddenly become more flexible. It was that my body had relearned how to move without resistance. It's hard to describe the difference until you feel it yourself. The quiet ease of bending down to pick something up without a grunt. The simple pleasure of standing tall without tension pulling you forward. The resting squat had begun reprogramming not just my muscles but the way I used them. And it wasn't only about movement. It was about awareness. Every time I dropped into the squat, I could feel my spine aligning naturally, my core engaging without effort, my breath deepening on its own. I began to notice how much of my day was spent in postures that worked against my body, slouched over a desk, leaning on one hip, sitting for hours. Each squat session was like hitting a physical refresh button, reminding my body what upright truly felt like. Then something unexpected changed. My energy. I started feeling more awake, even on days when I hadn't slept well. At first I thought it was coincidence, but the pattern kept repeating. As I dug into the science, it made perfect sense. Squatting naturally improves circulation and lymphatic flow, acting like a gentle internal pump. Each time I dropped into that position, I was literally helping blood and oxygen move through my lower body more efficiently. The dull heaviness that used to creep into my legs by evening gone. My feet felt warmer, my stride longer. It's incredible how something so simple could impact so many layers of well-being. It wasn't all smooth sailing, though. Around day 18, I hit a plateau. 5 minutes still challenged me. Not because of strength, but endurance. My ankles burned and my hips felt tight again. Instead of pushing harder, I tried something different. I began to treat those 5 minutes as a conversation with my body, not a battle. Some days I held the position for a full minute, others only 30 seconds, but I listened. The progress came back instantly. That's when I realized the deeper lesson behind this ancient movement. Consistency beats intensity. The goal isn't perfection, it's presence. A few friends started noticing subtle changes. "You're walking straighter," one said. Another joked that I looked taller. But what they were really seeing was posture, that invisible foundation we all take for granted until it crumbles. The deep squat naturally rebalances the pelvis and spine, counteracting decades of sitting and slouching. I didn't just feel taller, I was standing in alignment. My breathing changed too, deeper, steadier, more natural. I didn't have to force it. My body simply remembered how. One of the most surprising benefits came in week 3. Digestion. I hadn't expected that. But as I continued squatting, I noticed my meals seemed to move better. No bloating, no heaviness, just smoother digestion. It made sense once I learned that the posture gently massages the abdomen, encouraging healthy gut movement. In many Eastern cultures, squatting is the natural posture for elimination. And suddenly, that didn't sound so strange. It was just another reminder that nature had figured this out long before modern chairs and toilets complicated things. By the 4th week, I no longer thought of the squat as exercise. It had become part of my day, like brushing my teeth or drinking water. I'd sink into the position while reading a few pages of a book, during phone calls, or even while waiting for the kettle to boil. My body had stopped fighting it. What used to feel awkward now felt right, like reconnecting with an old friend I didn't realize I'd missed. The mental shift was just as powerful. There's something deeply grounding about being that close to the earth, supported entirely by your own strength and balance. It brings humility and confidence at once. Humility because you see where your limits are, confidence because you know you can expand them. I began to realize how much of aging isn't just biological, it's behavioral. We stop challenging our range of motion, and the body responds by shrinking it. But the moment you reintroduce natural movement, it responds faster than you expect, even after 50. The changes kept stacking. My balance improved noticeably. I could turn quickly without feeling unstable, walk on uneven ground without second-guessing every step. The fear of falling, that quiet anxiety that creeps in as we age, started to fade. I felt steadier, not just in my legs but in my sense of self. That's the part no one tells you about how physical freedom directly fuels emotional confidence. It's hard to feel old when your body moves like it remembers youth. By day 25, I realized this wasn't a challenge anymore. It was a practice, something sustainable, simple, and powerful. No weights, no machines, no memberships. Just 5 minutes a day reconnecting to what my body already knew. And while it started as an experiment, it had turned into something much bigger, proof that sometimes the best medicine for aging isn't more technology or supplements. It's going backward, rediscovering the movements our bodies evolved to do. By the time I reached the end of the 30 days, I could hold the resting squat effortlessly for over 5 minutes. But what surprised me wasn't just that I could do it. It was how completely different my body and mind felt. The stiffness I once blamed on age had melted away. My knees no longer cracked like old floorboards. My hips moved freely. My posture felt aligned, balanced, almost youthful. It wasn't about building muscle. It was about restoring movement, the kind of natural strength that doesn't show up in the mirror, but transforms how you live every day. I started to think about how this one simple habit touched every aspect of my life. Mornings felt smoother. I'd move through my routine without the usual tension. Walking upstairs became effortless, and bending down to pick something up didn't come with hesitation. Even sitting felt different. I no longer collapsed into a chair. I lowered myself intentionally. My body awareness had evolved, like I'd upgraded to a smarter, more responsive version of myself. It's a strange thing. You spend decades thinking decline is inevitable, and then one movement proves you wrong. The transformation wasn't just physical. There was something deeply psychological about it. Every time I squatted, I felt grounded, literally and emotionally. When you're that close to the earth, balanced on your own strength, you feel stable in a way that modern life rarely allows. We rush, we sit, we tense, we forget. The resting squat forces you to slow down and reconnect with gravity, with breath, with the rhythm of your own body. It's meditative, but not in the quiet, still sense. It's a form of moving mindfulness. And once I began feeling that connection, the squat stopped being a challenge and became a ritual. By week 5, the benefits went beyond what I could see or measure. I began noticing how my back pain, something I'd quietly accepted as part of aging, had vanished. My spine felt supported, not strained. I could stand longer, walk farther, and my shoulders naturally stayed back without me having to think about it. I wasn't fixing my posture anymore. My posture was fixing itself. Experts call this passive spinal decompression. But what it really felt like was relief. Years of slouching and sitting had compressed my frame, and now it was expanding again naturally. Then came the moment that truly drove home what I'd gained. I dropped my keys one afternoon. Without thinking, I squatted down, picked them up, and stood again, all in one smooth motion. It sounds trivial, but it wasn't. A few months earlier, I would have braced my hand on the wall or winced at my knees. Now it was automatic. That small moment felt like reclaiming a part of myself I hadn't realized was gone. Independence. And for anyone over 50, that's everything. The ability to move freely without fear or pain isn't just comfort. It's freedom. There's research that links the ability to get up and down from the floor to longevity. It's not about fitness. It's about functionality. The more capable your body remains, the more confident your life becomes. And the deep squat is the foundation of that capability. It trains balance, coordination, joint strength, and even core stability all at once. It's like nature's blueprint for staying young, simple, efficient, and built right into our design. But let's be real, not everyone can or should jump straight into it. If you have joint issues, replacements, or balance concerns, you start small. Hold on to a counter. Place a yoga block under your heels. Support yourself. The point isn't how long you can hold it. It's that you start reconnecting. Even 20 seconds a day sends a signal to your body. We're not done yet. That's how you build trust again between mind and movement. Now every morning, I take a few quiet minutes and drop into a squat. It's become a kind of meditation. Not for the mind, but for the body. A daily reminder that strength doesn't fade with age. It fades with neglect. The good news is, your body remembers. It always does. You just have to remind it. 5 minutes a day is all it takes to start turning back the clock on stiffness, imbalance, and the slow loss of mobility we've come to accept as normal. It's not normal. It's just common. And the moment you realize the difference, everything changes. So if you're over 50 and you want to feel lighter, stronger, more grounded, start where you are. Don't chase youth. Reclaim it through movement. You don't need a gym, a trainer, or fancy gear. You just need curiosity and consistency. Try the resting squat for 30 days. Hold it while brushing your teeth, folding laundry, or scrolling your phone. Let your body relearn what it already knows. Will it feel awkward at first? Absolutely. Will your heels lift, your hips protest, your balance wobble? Of course, but that's exactly where progress begins. 5 minutes a day. That's all it takes to rediscover the mobility, balance, and vitality that modern life quietly took from you. It won't just change how you move, it will change how you feel in your own body. Because deep down, you weren't built to sit, you were built to move, to squat, to live freely. And when you give that back to your body gives something back to you. Strength, stability, and a sense of youth that no supplement or machine can replicate.